Hey, I'm Matt with Meat Church. Let's make brisket on a stick with bourbon barbecue sauce. A few weeks ago, we dropped a party rib recipe on this channel, which is taking pork ribs, slicing them individually, seasoning them, and cooking them individually, which dramatically reduces your cook time. And frankly, I was blown away by the response. How many views we got on that within the first week. There was not one negative comment on that video, and the response from people saying, not only did it work, it's really good, and I may not even cook ribs the same way like as a whole rack. We got to thinking like, hey, we're in Texas, we're in the beef state, so could we do that with beef ribs? So what do we have here today? Well, we've got, these are actually little chuck ribs. So this would, as a whole rack, would be a 4-bone rack of chuck ribs. But in our local grocery store, they're already cut individually, and they're actually cut in half. They would be about yay long normally. So this would be something that I typically buy if I'm going to braise these and make like something with a nice red wine or something like that. So we've never actually done what we're about to do today. I know it's gonna be good. So we're gonna trim the fat off these. We're gonna get them seasoned, and then hey, what's a party without bourbon? We're gonna make our delicious bourbon barbecue sauce. This is gonna elevate these, and you guys are gonna love it. So let's jump in. So it's important to get most of the fat off of these. I usually say that fat renders down in your cook on beef ribs, but these have quite a bit of excess fat on them. So I'm just gonna kind of trim off the excess stuff here. Don't have to be perfect with it. Fat's flavor, but when left on in moderation, as I like to say. You can take the silver skin off if you like. I also don't think that's completely necessary. You can see the silver skin here, and that's most easily done by taking a sharp knife and just get right underneath that silver skin, in between the meat and the silver skin, and removing it. The thing about it, you got to be careful not to remove too much meat and kind of angle your blade up towards the silver skin. Remove it just like that. It's really important in wild game, not nearly as important on beef. And why is that? Well, your gamey flavor in wild game will come from that silver skin, so you want to take that off. And also, if you do choose to take it off, your seasoning will adhere a little bit better, or kind of will penetrate a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these, and then we're going to season them up. All right, those are nice and trimmed up, and you can see, like I said, they're not perfect. They don't have to be. I do want to mention the membrane on the back. I got asked a lot about this in our pork rib video. On beef ribs, I never pull the membrane, even if I'm cooking them whole, because frankly, there's just nothing between the membrane and the bone. There's no meat back here, so you don't have to worry about that. Now we need to jump into seasoning. So I always say, use your favorite seasoning. But I think what I'm gonna do today is, I don't wanna make these as sweet as those pork ribs, but I'm okay with a little sweet. So I'm gonna take these in the direction of a Kansas City burn-in. Anytime I make burn-ins, I use our Holy Gospel, which is mostly our Holy Cow and a little bit of our Gospel all-purpose, so it has a touch of sugar in it. It'll caramelize nice and it'll be beautiful. So let's go ahead and season this pretty liberally. So we're gonna season these on all sides. And then typically you want to let it adhere for just a little bit. But while I'm doing that, if this is your first time to our channel, if you don't know who we are, what are we all about? Well, I'm Matt Pittman. I founded Meat Church. We're about a 10-year-old barbecue lifestyle brand. We're most known for these seasonings that are in my hand. We make our seasonings right here in Texas, small batch craft seasonings. They are the freshest in the market. They don't go to a 3PL provider and sit around for a long time. We ship them directly from our facility to you and to our retail partners. We also have a ton of merch. Everything's always on meatchurch.com. We typically have about 15 different shirts and 25 to 30 different hats, aprons, all kinds of stuff. But what do I do and where do I spend my time? Well, my passion is cooking outside and trying to encourage people to get outside and to do the same thing. So my recipes are very straightforward. And like I said, if you're new here, appreciate you being here. Go down and subscribe. This is part of our weekly cooking show. We do this every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, completely free. So subscribe, and thanks for being here. All right, well, I'm gonna pat these in. Typically, I would tell folks, let your seasoning adhere for at least 15 minutes, up to an hour, or you can even just do this overnight. It's not gonna hurt it. But in this case, we're doing a show, and I don't wanna keep you guys too long, so I'm gonna throw these on. So let's talk about cooking. This is a mill scale backyard offset smoker. It's running dead on 250 degrees, and I'm cooking with post oak. I always say that wood is your first ingredient in any cook. I cook a Central Texas style barbecue, which is post oak, but you can use whatever wood you like. I would love mesquite, I would love hickory, pecan. I want smoky, so I would stay away from fruit woods. And the temperature, just 250 is a guide. You know, if you're running an offset, it's gonna be a little lower, a little higher, no problem. If you're running a pellet grill or some sort of smoker with a control on it, then just go dead on 200, a little lower, a little higher, kind of whatever your preference is. And we're gonna smoke these to about 175 degrees internal temp, which probably take 2 to 3 hours. And at that point, we're gonna wrap them. While the beef ribs are smoking, it'd be a great time to make a homemade barbecue sauce. You obviously can sauce these with whatever you want, but we make a very delicious bourbon barbecue sauce. I first developed this to put on ribs, which is really delicious. And if you don't know, bourbon is where I spend most of my money. The other half goes to buying Nikes. So a bit of a bourbon guy. So let's jump into this. I'm gonna use Weller Special Reserve. It's 90 proof. So it's not that hot to drink, and it's a wheated bourbon, so the sweetness of it works in this sauce. So let me turn on my little burner here. All right, now this recipe's on meatchurch.com. I'm gonna put it below. It's very simple. We're gonna start out with 2 cups of ketchup, 1 cup of brown sugar, tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, tablespoon of Meat Church Holy Cow. Then, when I'm making barbecue sauce, I like it peppery. The guy that taught me to cook outside made a homemade barbecue sauce, and there was always pepper kind of floating throughout it. So, tablespoon of that. I'll show you in this jar here. You can kind of see the pepper in it. Also reminiscent of Rudy's barbecue sauce that you would see here in Texas. And I've always just loved that added pepper. So, add that. Optional if you don't like it. And then, obviously, we need some bourbon. You need about 6 ounces. Or maybe you go heavier. But you know, play this to however you like. It's gonna cook down, don't worry about your kids. If you like a lot of bourbon, add more. Ooh. Ooh, yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, you wanna bring this to a boil, stir it up, obviously. Bring it to a boil and then reduce it down to simmer. And so I would say simmer it to the consistency you desire, which is typically about 25 minutes. If you push it closer to 30, it's gonna get a little bit thicker, so it just kind of depends on what you like. Well, let's check in on the beef ribs. It's been about 2.5 hours, and they smell awesome. Whew. These things have gorgeous color. Try to put them out here on the board. A little puny one cooked down to not a whole lot. All right, let's, I've been temping these along the way, but I like to wrap these really more in the 170s. That one's actually 170 exactly. So the most important thing is, you know, you just really want to get great color. Cooking, use your senses. So this has beautiful bark, looks really good. It's taken on plenty of smoke for me. So now it's time to wrap it. Again, just like we did back in that party rib video that y'all love so much. So I'm gonna grab a pan. Let's put all these in here. All right, fits perfectly in a little half pan. So now it's time to add the goodness to it. So our barbecue sauce that we made earlier, and now you just need enough to coat these. You're not trying to float these ribs, just like on brisket burn-ins. When I have taught you brisket burn-ins, you just want enough to kind of coat all over these. So we'll put a little bit in. You can always add more. Let's just do a little bit to start. I love to thin or cut barbecue sauces with honey. This is Burleson's Clover Honey, run by 5th generation friends of ours here in Waxahachie. Great stuff. And we're gonna throw in some pats of butter. Now on the ribs, we threw sugar in. That's up to you. If you like that profile, you certainly could add a little bit in here if you like. And then I want you to just kind of toss this around, get everything nice and coated. And we're gonna go back in the smoker. Same temperature. At this point, by the way, if you're in a hurry, you definitely could increase the temperature to try to get things done quicker if you want. It's wrapped in foil, got a little protection there. You're really gonna be steaming and braising this meat, so that would be okay. If you wanna do that, you could also put like some beef stock in here. I would imagine. Again, never done it. So here we go. Looking mighty pretty. I'm gonna wrap it up with foil. Doesn't matter if it's the dull side or the shiny side. Whoever told you it has to be dull side, they were wrong. The dull side is just from the roller on the machine. Makes no difference. All right, we're in the pan, we're back in the smoker, and now we're gonna cook these until they are probe tender. It's been a couple hours. I just temped the beef ribs. They're 205 degrees, but the important thing is that they're probe tender. Once you get there, you know they're done. All right. Steamy from that braise, and you can see down in here the sauce and butter. It's gonna come down on these. Man, they look really good. I'm gonna give them a little dunk in this sauce before I pull them out on the board here, and then gotta let these babies cool down. Man, let me show you that. The membrane just comes right off the back of that during the braise. There's not much holding that on there. And you're definitely gonna wanna let these cool. These beef ribs have been hit with high heat all day. You wanna let the juices in that meat redistribute throughout the meat. These look awesome. They smell really good. You know, I'm ready to just stop talking and dig in. All right, I don't know how to eat these. Never done this before, so we're just gonna take a huge bite. Damn, look at that smoke. That's unbelievable. Way better than pork ribs, by the way. Like I was saying, you can see serious smoke in there. Man, it's like crazy tender, juicy, like packed with flavor. Man, I don't know if you like bourbon or not. That barbecue sauce is a winner. I mean, it's really subtle after it braises. When you taste it out of the jar, it's about a decent amount of bourbon flavor. But after that braise like that, like it cooks down, it just be like a super delicious taste. Like, man, these were crazy good. So these Texas style party ribs, I guess we'll call them, AKA brisket on a stick. These are definitely pretty good. And by the way, 4 of these were 11 bucks. So it was pretty inexpensive, to be honest with you. So anyway, if you guys like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. We drop how-to cooking videos every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central. We'll see y'all next week.